Hey guys, we are going to be finishing out this lesson. So this is part 2 of our 2-4 graphing. So if you haven't seen part 1 yet, I recommend that you go see that real quick first. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to start with number 15. And so remember, we have A, B, H, and K. So for this particular problem, let's see what we have here. My A is going to be 4. So here's my A, and we're going to say my A is 4. My B, well, I don't really have a B because there's nothing in front of that X on the inside of the absolute value. So my B is just going to be 1. My H is going to be this backwards one, this 2. Remember, it's a liar. It's in there, it's hanging out with its X, it's a liar. So the H is actually going to be, so there's my H, it's going to be a -2. Okay, it's always backwards, it's lying to us. My -3 is going to be out here on the end. My -3 is my K, and my K is going to be that -3. So now that I know that what my H and K is, I'm going to know what my vertex is. And my vertex is going to be at H, K. And so my vertex is going to be at -2, -3. So I can go to the left 2 and down 3, and there, right there, is my vertex. So just like that, we're able to find the vertex, the point where we intersect. Okay? My parent function is always going to be the same. It's y equals the absolute value of x. But before we talk about anything else, let's talk about our transformations. Well, my H tells me that we're going to go to the left 2. My K tells me that we're going to go down 3. And my A tells me that we are going to have a vertical stretch by 4. Okay? So we're going to have a vertical stretch by 4. All right. Do I have a vertical reflection? No. So my opening direction is going to be up. So my opening direction is up. And so we kind of have an idea of where my graph is going to be. Now my axis of symmetry, that's related to my H, right? My axis of symmetry is my H, and my H is -2. So here is my axis of symmetry at x equals -2. So that axis of symmetry is just going to be my imaginary line that my graph like flips over, okay? And so my graph, there's my axis of symmetry. My opening direction is up. So let's go ahead, let's draw my graph. So my normal graph would look like this. Up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. However, my graph now is going to be stretched. We have a vertical stretch by 4. So what does that mean? It means that I'm going to go up 4 over 1, up 4 over 1. You kind of think of it like your slope, okay? So we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. And so you can see what our actual graph looks like. Okay, so this is my actual graph. Do I have a maximum or a minimum? Yeah, I'm going to have a minimum. So I'm going to have a minimum value. And my minimum value is just going to be the lowest we get. It can be your vertex, and it's just going to be right there at -3. So my minimum is going to be at -2, -3. Last but not least, let's talk real quick about domain and range and our y-intercept. My domain is going to be all real numbers, as always. But Mr. Martin, it's going more up. It's not going out to the side. That doesn't matter. This arrow is eventually going to cover everything to the right, everything to the left. Remember, domain is everything right and left. But we can also say that's -infinity to positive infinity. Same thing. My range. This is the one that's funky. Okay? My range has a minimum value. It can go up for forever, but there's a smallest value that my range can be. And so the smallest value that my range can be is going to be y is at the smallest value it can be is -3. So it's greater than everything above -3. And lastly, to write that out, it's going to be brackets -3 to infinity. Okay? Don't forget to put your brackets there. And our y-intercept. Our y-intercept is going to be whenever I take my original equation and plug in 0 for x. We can kind of see where my y-intercept is at, can't we? But we're going to find out for sure where my y-intercept is and check and make sure that my graph is correct. So I'm going to take 0 and I'm going to plug it in for my original equation. So we're going to go y equals 4 times 0 plus 2 minus 3. So 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. So I'm going to have a y-intercept at 0, 5. Hey, look, that's where I intersect over here, too. Good stuff. Okay, so now, let's move on from this, and let's take a look at if my graph is already given to me, and we're just going to interpret this. So we're going to start off by looking at my vertex. So my vertex is over 1, 2 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to have a vertex at 2, 6. That means my h is going to be 2, and my k is going to be 6. Then we're going to see if I have any kind of stretch in my graph. So let's see here. We're going to go down 1, 2, 3. So we pick 2 points, and you're kind of counting like the slope of your graph, okay? So we're going to count down 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, and that's going to be kind of, you can kind of think about that as your slope. So down 3 over 2, so that means my A is going to be 3 over 2. We have a vertical stretch of 3 over 2 because it's not up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. It's down 3 over 2. But what else? What direction is this graph going? Yeah, it is opening down. And if it's opening down, that means we have a vertical reflection. That means my A has to be negative. So I have an A of negative, and we're just going to assume B is 1 because we don't want to deal with it. And my parent function is always just y equals the absolute value of x. So then, my axis of symmetry, that's where x equals h. So my axis of symmetry is just going to be x equals 2. There's my axis of symmetry. Okay? And we have a maximum at 2, 6. So we have a maximum value is the highest number that we can get to is 6. And so my domain, all real numbers, my range, it's negative infinity to positive infinity, and then my range is everything below up until we hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my range is less than my maximum value, which is 6. So my range is going to be everything less than or equal to 6 or negative infinity to 6. And last but not least, my y-intercept is going to be at 0, 3. And we now are going to write my equation for this. It's like if I have my A, my H, and my K, we can write the equation. So we're going to write y equals negative 3 over 2 times the absolute value of x minus my h plus my k. So it might be a good idea to rewatch some of this and to really dive in because there's a lot of information on each problem. But just kind of hone in on A, H, and K. H and K shifts my graph around, up and down, left and right, and my A either flips my graph or stretches it, and it gives me kind of my slope. My B is kind of there to be weird, and it only really affects whenever we have to do transformations from the graph, from the equation, but it doesn't really matter that much. All right, anyways, long story short, guys, please be sure to let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.